Hello everyone and welcome back to the English Boost Zone. I'm so excited you're here today. If you're new to the show, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, thank you for coming back. Today's episode is going to be something really special, something that I think will truly transform the way you approach learning English. We're going to talk about one of the biggest challenges that English learners face. And I know this is a challenge for you because I hear about it all the time. Students write to me, they send messages, they leave comments, and they all say basically the same thing. I know the words, I've studied the grammar, but when I try to speak, I just can't get the words out fast enough. Does this sound familiar? Have you ever been in a conversation where you knew exactly what you wanted to say, but the words just wouldn't come out? Maybe you were translating from your native language in your head, searching for the right English words, and by the time you finally figured out how to say it, the conversation had already moved on to a different topic. Or maybe the other person was already talking about something else, and your moment to speak had passed. This is so frustrating, isn't it? You feel like you're always one step behind in conversations. You feel like your brain is working so hard, doing so much mental gymnastics just to produce a simple sentence. And meanwhile, native speakers are talking so easily, so smoothly, without even thinking about it. Well, I have good news for you. Today I'm going to share 3 powerful tricks that will help you stop translating in your head and start thinking directly in English just like native speakers do. These aren't just random tips I came up with. These are proven methods that have helped thousands of learners become more fluent, more confident, and more natural English speakers. So here's what I want you to do. If you're in a place where you can take notes, grab a notebook or open a note-taking app on your phone. If you're driving or doing something else, don't worry. Just listen carefully and you can always come back to this episode later to review the techniques. We've got a lot to cover today, so let's get started. Section 1. Understanding the translation problem. Clear, explanatory, relatable tone. Before we jump into the 3 tricks, I think it's really important that we understand exactly why translating in your head is holding you back. Because once you understand the problem, the solution will make so much more sense. So let's talk about what happens in your brain when you translate. When you're translating, your brain is basically doing double the work, maybe even triple the work. Let me break this down for you. First, you have a thought or an idea that you want to express. This thought usually forms in your native language because that's the language you've been thinking in your entire life. So let's say you want to tell someone that you're tired. That thought appears in your mind in your native language first. Then, step 2, you have to translate that thought into English. Your brain searches through its English vocabulary looking for the right words. Okay, how do I say this in English? What's the word for this feeling? How do I construct this sentence? But it doesn't stop there. Step 3, you also have to think about grammar. You have to make sure you're using the correct verb tense, the correct word order, the correct articles. Wait, do I say I am tired or I tired? Do I need the word am? And then, step 4, you finally have to speak the sentence out loud. But by the time you've gone through steps 1, 2, and 3, several seconds have passed. In a real conversation, several seconds is a long time. The other person might think you're not interested, or they might start talking about something else. Now, let me tell you what happens in a native speaker's brain. For them, it's just one step. The thought and the English words come together at the exact same time. They don't translate, they don't think about grammar rules, they just speak. The words flow naturally and automatically. You might be thinking, well, that's easy for them. English is their native language, they've been speaking it since they were bobbies. And you're right. But here's what you need to know. You can train your brain to work the same way. You can create that same automatic, natural flow in English. It's not about being talented. It's not about having a special gift for languages. It's about rewiring your brain, creating new thinking patterns, new neural pathways. And that's exactly what the 3 tricks I'm going to teach you today will do. Before we move on, I want you to think about this question. In your daily life, how often do you actually think in English? Not study English, not translate English, but actually think in English. For most learners, the answer is never or almost never. And that's the core of the problem. If you want to speak English fluently, you need to think in English regularly, not just when you're studying, but throughout your day, during your normal activities. That's how you build fluency. That's how you stop translating. All right, now that we understand the problem, let's talk about the solutions. Let's dive into the 3 tricks. The first trick is something I call simple self-talk, and this is absolutely the best place to start if you've never tried thinking in English before. This technique is perfect for beginners and intermediate learners, and it's going to build the foundation for everything else we talk about today. Here's the concept. You're going to describe your daily activities to yourself in English using very basic, very simple language. And I really want to emphasize the word simple here because that's the key to making this work. Let me give you a detailed example of how this works. Imagine you wake up in the morning. The moment you open your eyes, you start narrating what's happening. You say to yourself out loud or in your head, "I'm waking up, I'm opening my eyes, the sun is shining through the window, I'm stretching my arms, I'm sitting up in bed." Notice something important here. These sentences are incredibly simple. I'm not using complicated vocabulary. I'm not using complex grammar structures. It's just basic present continuous tense. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Why are we keeping it so simple? Because simple sentences come out automatically. When you use complicated language, your brain has to work hard and you might fall back into translating. But with simple language, your brain can form English sentences without thinking about it. Let's continue with the morning routine. You get out of bed and walk to the bathroom. Keep narrating. I'm getting out of bed. I'm walking to the bathroom. I'm turning on the light. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm turning on the faucet. I'm washing my face. Then you go to the kitchen for breakfast. I'm walking to the kitchen. I'm opening the fridge. I'm looking inside. I'm taking out the eggs. I'm taking out the milk. I'm closing the fridge. I'm walking to the stove. I'm turning on the stove. I'm cracking an egg into the pan. Do you see what's happening here? You're creating a direct connection between your actions and English words. You're not translating. The thought "I'm cracking an egg" comes to you in English at the same moment you're doing the action. This is exactly how native speakers think. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You might be thinking, "This sounds silly. I feel weird talking to myself." And yes, it might feel a little strange at first, especially if you're saying it out loud. But I promise you this technique works incredibly well. If you feel uncomfortable narrating out loud, especially if other people are around, that's totally fine. Do it in your head. The important thing is that you're actively thinking in English, describing your world in English. Here's how to practice this effectively. Start with just 5 to 10 minutes a day. Pick a time when you're doing a routine activity, something you do every single day. Morning routines are perfect because they're so consistent. You do the same things in the same order every morning. For the first week, just focus on the present continuous tense, that "I'm doing" form. This tense is perfect for describing actions as they happen in real time. I'm walking, I'm sitting, I'm drinking, I'm reading. After a week or two, when these simple sentences start flowing naturally, you can begin to add more details and use different tenses. Instead of just "I'm making coffee," you might say, "I'm making my morning coffee. I always drink coffee in the morning. I like it strong with a little bit of sugar. Today I'm using my favorite blue mug." See how we expanded? We added personal preferences with "I like." We added habits with "I always." We added specific details with "my favorite blue mug," but we built up to this gradually. We didn't start here. You can also start adding your thoughts and feelings. "I'm feeling tired this morning. I didn't sleep well last night. Maybe I should go to bed earlier tonight." Now here's a really important tip. Focus on your regular daily routines first. These are the activities you do every single day without thinking. Waking up, brushing your teeth, making breakfast, getting dressed, commuting to work or school, eating lunch, coming home, making dinner, getting ready for bed. Why focus on routines? Because when you practice the same English phrases every single day, they become automatic incredibly fast. After describing your morning routine in English for 2 weeks, those phrases will just come naturally without any effort. Once your daily routines are automatic in English, you can expand to other areas. When you're shopping, narrate what you're doing. "I'm walking into the store, I'm getting a shopping cart, I'm looking for the fruit section, I'm picking up some apples, these apples look fresh." When you're exercising, narrate your workout. "I'm warming up, I'm stretching my legs, I'm starting to run, I'm feeling good, my heart is beating faster." When you're working, narrate your tasks. "I'm turning on my computer, I'm checking my email, I'm reading this message, I'm writing a reply." The beautiful thing about this technique is that you're training your brain to think in English without any pressure. You're not in a conversation where you have to respond quickly. You're just talking to yourself, describing your own life. There's no one to judge you. You can make mistakes and it doesn't matter. You can stop and correct yourself. You can pause and think. And over time, something amazing happens. These English phrases start coming automatically. You don't have to try, you don't have to translate. Your brain just produces the English words naturally as you're doing the action. This is the foundation of thinking in English. And once you have this foundation, everything else becomes so much easier. Let me give you one more practical tip before we move on. If you're having trouble getting started, try this. Record yourself doing the self-talk for 5 minutes, then listen to the recording. You'll notice where you hesitated, where you switched back to your native language, or where you got stuck. This awareness will help you improve. All right, that's trick number 1, simple self-talk. Practice this every single day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Now let's move on to trick number 2. Now we're going to talk about trick number 2, and this one builds on the foundation we just created with self-talk. This trick is all about using English for your internal dialogue, and specifically for the questions you ask yourself throughout the day. Let me explain what I mean by internal dialogue. Throughout the day, you have this voice in your head that's constantly talking to you, asking questions, making decisions, solving problems. This is completely normal. Everyone has this internal voice. For example, right now, as you're listening to this podcast, your internal voice might be saying things like, "This is interesting, I should try this. Where's my notebook? I want to write this down." Or maybe, "Do I have time to finish this episode? What time do I need to leave?" Usually, this internal voice speaks in your native language. But here's what I want you to do starting today. I want you to switch that internal voice to English. Specifically, I want you to ask yourself questions in English and answer them in English throughout your entire day. Why questions? Because questions are fundamental to how we think. When we're trying to make decisions or solve problems, we ask ourselves questions. What should I do? Where should I go? How can I fix this? Our thinking process is built on questions and answers. So when you do this internal questioning and answering in English, you're literally thinking in English. You're using English as your language of thought, not just your language of communication. Let me give you some very practical, common examples that you can start using today. Let's say you wake up in the morning and you're trying to decide what to wear. Instead of asking yourself this question in your native language, ask it in English. What should I wear today? Then answer yourself in English. It's cold outside. I should wear my warm jacket, maybe my blue sweater too. You can't find your phone. Instead of searching for it while thinking in your native language, ask in English. Where's my phone? Where did I put it? Then answer, maybe it's in my bag. No, I checked there. Oh, it's on the kitchen counter. You're feeling hungry? Ask yourself, what do I want to eat? Am I really hungry or just bored? Answer, I'm actually hungry. I want something healthy, maybe a salad or maybe some fruit. You're at work or studying and you need to decide what to do next. Ask, what should I do first? Should I finish this task or start the other one? Answer, this task is more important. I should finish this first. It will take about 30 minutes. You're feeling stressed or upset about something. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What's bothering me? Answer, I'm stressed because I have a lot of work. I need to take a break. Maybe I should go for a short walk. Someone invites you to do something but you're not sure. Ask, do I want to go? Do I have time? Answer, I'm tired today. I should stay home and rest, maybe next time. Do you see how natural this can become? These are real situations that happen in your daily life. And every time they happen, you have an opportunity to practice thinking in English. Now, let me give you a systematic way to practice this. Start with the most common question words because these are the ones you'll use most often in your internal dialogue. What questions? What should I do now? What do I need to buy? What's the best option? What time is it? What did I forget? Where questions? Where are my keys? Where should I go? Where did I see that? Where's the nearest coffee shop? When questions? When should I leave? When is the deadline? When did this happen? When am I free? Why questions? Why am I feeling this way? Why did that happen? Why is this important? Why should I do this? How can I solve this? How long will this take? How do I feel about this? How should I approach this? Should I do this now or later? Should I say yes or no? Should I call them? Should I take a break? Can and could questions. Can I finish this today? Could this work? Can I do this differently? For the first few days, focus on the simple, present tense questions that relate to your immediate situation. Don't worry about being grammatically perfect. The goal is to get comfortable thinking in English, not to speak perfect English in your head. As you get more comfortable, make your questions more complex and thoughtful. Instead of just, what should I eat? You might ask yourself, what should I eat that's healthy and will give me energy for the afternoon? Do I have time to cook something or should I order food? Instead of just, where are my keys? You might think, where did I last have my keys? When did I come home? What did I do first when I walked in the door? Here's another powerful way to use this technique. Use English for planning and organizing your day. Every morning, ask yourself, what do I need to do today? What's the most important thing? What can wait until tomorrow? Throughout the day, check in with yourself. Am I making progress? Am I using my time well? What should I focus on next? At the end of the day, reflect, what did I accomplish today? What went well? What could I do better tomorrow? When you use English for this kind of planning and reflection, English becomes your language of productivity and self-improvement. It's not just something you study, it's something you use to run your life. Now, I want to address something important. Some of you might be thinking, but this will slow me down. If I have to think in English, I won't be as efficient. And yes, at first, it might slow you down a tiny bit, but this slowdown is temporary, maybe just a week or two. After that initial period, thinking in English will become just as fast as thinking in your native language, especially for common situations and decisions. And the benefit you get, the massive improvement in your English fluency, is absolutely worth that small, temporary inconvenience. Here's what I recommend: start with low-pressure situations. Don't try to think in English when you're in a high-stress situation or when you need to make an important decision quickly. Start with casual, everyday moments: what to eat for lunch, what to watch on TV, whether to go for a walk or stay home. As thinking in English becomes more comfortable, you'll naturally start using it in more situations. Eventually, it will become your default mode of thinking, at least for certain areas of your life. One more thing I want to mention: this technique is especially powerful when combined with trick number 1, the self-talk. When you narrate your actions and ask yourself questions in English throughout the day, you're giving your brain constant English input and practice. You're living in English, even if you're not in an English-speaking country. So that's trick number 2, use English for your internal questions and answers. Make it a habit, practice it every day, and watch how quickly your English thinking develops. Now let's move on to the third trick, and this one is absolutely crucial for sounding natural and fluent. We've now arrived at trick number 3, and I want to tell you right now, this trick is a game changer. This is the secret that separates students who sound like textbooks from students who sound like real, natural English speakers. This is about learning and thinking in phrases and chunks of language, not individual words. Let me explain what I mean, because this is so important. Many English learners approach vocabulary learning in a very specific way. They learn individual words with individual meanings. They learn that the word make has a certain meaning in their native language. They learn that decision has a different meaning. And then, when they want to express the idea of deciding something, they try to put these individual words together. But here's the problem: this is not how native speakers think. Native speakers don't think make plus decision. They think make a decision as one complete unit, one chunk of language. Native speakers' brains are full of these chunks, these pre-made phrases that they use automatically without thinking about it. When they need to express an idea, the whole phrase comes to mind at once. They don't build sentences word by word. They use ready-made chunks and just slot them into their sentences. Let me give you a very clear example of why this matters. Let's say you want to express the idea that you need to carefully consider something. If you're thinking word by word, you might translate from your native language and come up with something awkward or unnatural. You might say something like, I must think about it with care, or I need to consider it carefully. These sentences aren't necessarily wrong, but they don't sound natural. A native speaker would more likely say, "Let me give it some thought," or "I need to think it over," or "Let me sleep on it." These are chunks, ready-made phrases that express this idea naturally. When you learn these chunks, you don't have to translate, you don't have to build the sentence. The phrase just comes to you as a complete unit. Give it some thought. That's one piece of language that means think about it carefully. So how do you start thinking in chunks instead of individual words? Let me give you a detailed strategy. First, understand which kinds of words commonly form chunks in English. The most important ones are common verbs: make, take, have, get, do, give, put, go, come, and bring. These verbs combine with nouns to create hundreds of natural phrases. Let's look at make. Don't just learn the word make by itself, learn all the common chunks with make. Make a decision. Make a mistake. Make progress. Make sense. Make a difference. Make an effort. Make an excuse. Make a promise. Make friends. Make money. Make a living. Make time. Make room. Make sure. Make it clear. Make up your mind. See how many chunks we have with just one verb, and notice something else: you can't always predict these combinations by translating word by word from your native language. Make sense doesn't literally mean create sense. It means be logical or be understandable. But native speakers don't think about this. They just use the chunk make sense. Now let's look at take. Again, learn the complete phrases. Take a break. Take a chance. Take a look. Take time. Take notes. Take care of. Take place. Take part in. Take advantage of. Take it easy. Take responsibility. Take turns. Take action. Take a seat. Every time you see or hear one of these phrases, practice it as a complete unit. When you're doing your self-talk, use these chunks. I'm taking a break. I need to take a look at this. Let me take notes. Now let's talk about have. Native speakers use have in so many chunk combinations. Have a conversation. Have a discussion. Have an argument. Have a look. Have a think. Have trouble. Have difficulty. Have a good time. Have fun. Have a chance. Have an opportunity. Have a feeling. Have an idea. Notice that in many languages you might use different verbs for these ideas, but in English we use have for all of them. When you learn them as chunks, you don't have to think about which verb to use, you just use the phrase automatically. Let's look at get. This is one of the most common verbs in spoken English. Get ready. Get started. Get going. Get home. Get there. Get the idea. Get the point. Get in touch. Get involved. Get used to. Get better. Get worse. Get along with. Get rid of. Get is actually quite difficult for learners because it's used in so many different ways. But when you learn it in chunks, it becomes much easier. You don't have to understand all the different meanings of get. You just learn that get ready means prepare, get started means begin, get home means arrive home, and so on. Beyond these common verbs, there are also many other types of chunks you should learn. Let me give you some categories. Time expressions. At the moment. Right now. These days. Sooner or later. From time to time. Once in a while. In the long run. Opinion expressions. In my opinion. As far as I'm concerned. If you ask me. To be honest. To tell you the truth. The way I see it. Transition phrases. On the other hand. In addition to that. As a matter of fact. By the way. Speaking of which. That reminds me. Common responses. That makes sense. I see what you mean. That's a good point. Fair enough. No worries. My pleasure. I appreciate it. Now here's the practical strategy for learning and thinking in chunks. Step 1. When you're reading, listening to podcasts, or watching videos in English, don't just focus on individual words. Pay attention to phrases that appear together frequently. When you hear something that sounds natural and useful, write down the entire phrase, not just the individual words. For example, if you're reading an article and you see, despite the challenges, the team managed to complete the project on time, don't just note down despite, challenges, managed, and complete. Note down the whole phrases, despite the challenges and managed to complete and on time. These are the chunks that will make your English sound natural. Step 2. Create a phrase notebook or a digital document where you collect these chunks. Organize them by topic or situation. For example, have a section for work phrases, a section for daily life phrases, a section for expressing opinions, and so on. Step 3. Practice these chunks actively. Use them in your self-talk. Use them when you're asking yourself questions. When you learn a new chunk, try to use it several times in the same day. This repetition will help it stick in your memory. Step 4. Learn chunks in context. Don't just memorize a list of phrases, learn them with example sentences. For make a decision, write down, I need to make a decision about my job. Have you made a decision yet? She made a difficult decision. Step 5. Pay attention to which prepositions go with which words. This is part of learning chunks. For example, we say depend on, not depend of. We say interested in, not interested for. We say good at, not good in. These combinations are chunks that you need to learn as units. Here's why this approach is so powerful. When you think in chunks, your English flows naturally. You're not constructing sentences piece by piece. You're using the same building blocks that native speakers use. Your sentences will sound more natural, more fluent, more authentic. And here's another benefit. Chunks help you speak faster. Because you're not building sentences word by word, you can produce language more quickly. The chunks come out as complete units, which means less hesitation, fewer pauses, smoother speech. Let me give you a real-world example of how this works in practice. Imagine you want to tell someone that you're busy this week but you'll be free next week. If you're thinking word by word, you might struggle with how to express this naturally. You might say something like, I am busy this week, but next week I am not busy. But if you've learned chunks, it flows naturally. I'm tied up this week, but I'll be free next week, or I've got a lot on my plate this week, but things will slow down next week. These are natural chunks. Tied up meaning busy, have a lot on your plate meaning have many responsibilities, slow down meaning become less busy. One final tip about learning chunks: watch out for something called collocations. These are words that commonly go together. For example, in English we say strong coffee, not powerful coffee. We say heavy rain, not strong rain. We say do homework, not make homework. These collocations might not make logical sense when you translate them, but they're how native speakers combine words. When you learn them as chunks, you'll sound much more natural. So that's trick number 3. Think in phrases and chunks, not individual words. Learn complete phrases, practice them as units, and use them in your self-talk and internal dialogue. This will make your English sound natural and fluent. Now let's talk about the authentic method that brings all of these tricks together. We've covered 3 powerful tricks for thinking in English. But now I want to share with you the authentic method, the overall approach that will make these tricks truly effective. This is what separates someone who tries these techniques for a few days from someone who actually transforms their English fluency permanently. The authentic method is simple in concept but requires commitment. Here it is. You need to surround yourself with English and practice these techniques consistently every single day without exception. Let me be very honest with you. You cannot think in English if you only practice English once a week, or only when you're in English class, or only when you're studying from a textbook. That's not how language learning works. That's not how our brains work. Think about it this way: how did you learn to think in your native language? You didn't study it intensively for 1 hour a week. You were surrounded by it every single day, all day long from the moment you were born. You heard it constantly. You used it constantly. It was everywhere in your environment. Now, I know you're not a baby learning your first language. You're an adult learning a second or third or fourth language, but the principle is the same. Your brain needs regular, consistent exposure to English. It needs to hear English, read English, and use English every single day. Daily practice is absolutely essential. And when I say daily, I mean every single day. Not Monday through Friday with weekends off, not when you feel motivated or when you have time. Every day, including weekends, including holidays, including when you're tired or busy. You might be thinking, but I don't have time to study English for hours every day. And that's okay, you don't need hours, what you need is consistency. 15 minutes of English practice every single day is better than 3 hours once a week. Much better. Because here's what happens with daily practice: your brain starts to internalize English, it becomes familiar, the patterns become automatic, but if you practice only once a week, your brain forgets most of what you learned between sessions. You're constantly starting over. So let's talk about how to create an English environment for yourself, even if you don't live in an English-speaking country. This is about immersing yourself in English in practical, realistic ways. First, change your device settings to English. Your phone, your computer, your tablet, change everything to English. This seems like a small thing, but it's actually very powerful. Every time you check your phone, which most people do dozens of times a day, you're reading English. Every notification, every menu, every button, it's all English input. At first, this might slow you down a little bit because you're not used to the English terms for settings and features. But within a few days, you'll adapt. And the benefit is that you're getting passive English exposure throughout your entire day. Second, consume English content daily about topics you actually care about. This is crucial. Don't force yourself to watch or read things that bore you just because they're in English. If you love cooking, watch cooking videos in English. If you're interested in technology, follow tech news in English. If you enjoy fitness, watch workout videos in English. When you're genuinely interested in the content, learning doesn't feel like work. You're not studying, you're just enjoying content about your interests, and you happen to be learning English at the same time. Let me give you some specific suggestions for different types of English learning content. Podcasts. Listen to podcasts while you're commuting, doing chores, exercising, or cooking. You don't need to understand every word, just let the English flow into your ears. Your brain is absorbing patterns, rhythms, intonation, and common phrases. YouTube videos. Watch videos about your hobbies and interests. Turn on English subtitles if you need them, but try to wean yourself off subtitles gradually because they can become a crutch. TV shows and movies. These are great for learning conversational English and cultural context. Watch shows where people have natural conversations, not action movies with minimal dialogue. Books and articles. Read about topics you enjoy. Start with easier materials if you need to, like blogs or news articles, then gradually move to more complex texts. Social media. Follow English-speaking accounts about your interests. Read the posts, read the comments. This is where you'll learn current, natural, everyday English. Music. Listen to English songs, look up the lyrics. Music is a powerful memory tool. You'll remember phrases from songs much more easily than phrases from textbooks. Now, here's an important principle: don't worry about understanding everything. Especially when you're listening to podcasts or watching videos, you don't need to understand every single word. Even if you understand 60 or 70%, that's fine. Your brain is still learning. Think of it like exercise. When you go to the gym, you're not trying to lift the maximum weight possible every single time. Sometimes you lift lighter weights for more repetitions. Sometimes you focus on form. Sometimes you push yourself hard, and sometimes you take it easier. But the key is that you go consistently. The same with English. Some days you'll listen to something challenging and only understand part of it. That's okay. Some days you'll listen to something easier and understand almost everything. That's also okay. The important thing is that you're exposing your brain to English consistently. Now let's talk about how to integrate the 3 tricks we learned today into this immersion approach. Every morning when you wake up, do 5 to 10 minutes of self-talk. Describe your morning routine in English. This is your warm-up, like stretching before exercise. Throughout the day, ask yourself questions in English and answer them in English. Make this a habit. Every decision, every thought, every plan, do it in English. When you're consuming English content, whether it's a podcast, video, article, or whatever, actively notice the chunks and phrases that native speakers use. Write them down, add them to your phrase collection, and then use those phrases in your own self-talk. For example, let's say you're watching a cooking video and the person says, "Let's kick things off by preheating the oven." That phrase, "kick things off," is a great chunk that means start or begin. Write it down. then later use it in your self-talk. Okay, let me kick things off by checking my email. Do you see how this all connects? You're immersing yourself in English, learning natural chunks and phrases from native speakers, and then actively using those chunks in your own thinking. This is how you train your brain to think in English. Let me address something that I hear from students all the time, but I make mistakes. I'm afraid of making mistakes in my head. Here's what I want to tell you: mistakes don't matter when you're practicing self-talk and internal dialogue. There's no one judging you. You can experiment. You can try different ways of saying things. In fact, making mistakes in your head is good. It means you're trying, you're experimenting, you're pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. And here's the beautiful thing: when you make a mistake in your self-talk, you can immediately correct yourself. You notice it doesn't sound right and you try again. This self-correction is actually a powerful learning tool. Native speakers make mistakes too, by the way. They start sentences and then restart them. They say and they forget words and have to think of alternatives. Speaking perfectly is not the goal. Speaking naturally and communicating effectively is the goal. Now I want to talk about motivation and consistency, because this is where many learners struggle. The first few days of practicing these techniques, you might feel really motivated and excited. But then, after a week or two, the novelty wears off. You get busy, you forget to practice, you skip a day, then another day, and before you know it, you've stopped completely. This is completely normal. This is how habit formation works for everyone, but here's how you overcome it. First, make your practice so small and simple that it's almost impossible to skip. Remember, 5 minutes is enough. 5 minutes of self-talk while you're making breakfast. That's it. When the practice is this small, you have no excuse to skip it. Second, attach your English practice to an existing habit. This is called habit stacking. For example, right after I brush my teeth, I will do 5 minutes of English self-talk. Or while I'm making my morning coffee, I will describe what I'm doing in English. When you connect the new habit to something you already do every day, it's much easier to remember. Third, track your progress. Get a calendar and put an X on every day that you practice. After a few days, you'll have a chain of X's and you won't want to break the chain. This simple visual reminder is surprisingly powerful for maintaining consistency. Fourth, be patient with yourself. You will not see dramatic results after one day or even 1 week. Language learning is a gradual process, but if you practice consistently for 30 days, you will notice a difference. After 90 days, the difference will be significant. After 6 months, you'll be amazed at your progress. Think of it like planting a tree. When you plant a seed, you don't see a tree the next day. You water it, you take care of it, and for a while it seems like nothing is happening. But underground, roots are growing. The foundation is forming. And then one day you see the first sprout, and then it grows and grows. Language learning is exactly like this. Here's what you can expect from following this authentic method consistently. In the first 2 weeks, simple phrases will start coming automatically. When you're doing your morning routine, the English descriptions will flow without much effort. You'll notice yourself naturally thinking in English for brief moments. After 1 month, you'll start thinking in English for longer periods. You'll catch yourself asking questions in English in your head without consciously deciding to do so. Your brain is starting to build English thinking pathways. After 3 months, thinking in English will start to feel natural and comfortable. You won't have to force it. For many daily situations, English will become your default thinking language. You'll notice that when you do speak English, the words come more quickly and easily. After 6 months, you'll have significantly less translation in your head. You might even find that sometimes you have difficulty translating back to your native language because you're thinking purely in English concepts. But here's the key: this timeline only happens if you practice every single day. If you practice sporadically, it will take much longer. Consistency is everything. Let me also address a question I get often. Should I completely stop using my native language? No, absolutely not. Your native language is part of who you are. I'm not asking you to abandon it. What I'm asking you to do is create space for English in your daily thinking, especially in contexts where you want to improve your English fluency. You can think in your native language for complex emotional discussions with family, for important work decisions, for deep philosophical thinking. But for your daily routines, for making simple decisions, for describing your environment, use English. This creates the practice you need without abandoning your native language. Some people find that they naturally develop language zones in their life. Maybe English becomes your language for work and career-related thinking. Maybe English becomes your language for hobbies and entertainment. This is perfectly fine. Let it develop naturally. Now, before we wrap up, I want to give you one more powerful technique that brings everything together: journaling in English. Every evening, spend 5 to 10 minutes writing about your day in English. Not fancy literary writing, just simple, honest writing about what you did, what you thought, how you felt. This is different from self-talk because you're writing, which forces you to be more deliberate and structured. But it's similar because you're describing your real life in English. You're not translating from a textbook. You're expressing your genuine experiences and thoughts. Here's an example of what this might look like. Today was a busy day. I woke up late because I didn't hear my alarm. I had to rush to get ready. I skipped breakfast, which was a mistake because I was hungry all morning. At work, I had an important meeting. I was nervous, but it went well. In the evening, I watched an episode of my favorite show. Now I'm writing this journal and getting ready for bed. Tomorrow, I need to wake up earlier. Simple, right? But look at all the English you're using. You're using past tenses, you're connecting ideas, you're expressing cause and effect, you're describing feelings. This is real English usage. And here's a bonus: when you write in a journal, you create a record of your progress. Months later, you can go back and read your early entries. You'll be amazed at how much your English has improved. This is incredibly motivating. All right, let me give you some final troubleshooting advice for common challenges people face. Challenge 1: I keep forgetting to practice. Solution: set reminders on your phone. 3 reminders a day, 1 in the morning for self-talk, 1 at midday to check if you're asking yourself questions in English, 1 in the evening for journaling. Challenge 2: I run out of things to say to myself. Solution: this means you need more English input. Listen to more podcasts, watch more videos. You'll hear how other people describe things and you can use similar language in your own self-talk. Challenge 3: I'm not sure if what I'm saying is correct. Solution: don't worry about perfection, but if you want to check, you can write down phrases you're unsure about and look them up online or ask someone. Remember, the goal is fluency, not perfection. Challenge 4: I feel silly talking to myself. Solution: remember, you're talking to yourself in your native language all the time, you're just switching languages. Also, you can do it silently in your head if speaking out loud feels too awkward. Challenge 5: I'm too busy to practice every day. Solution: you're not too busy, you're just not making it a priority. We all have 24 hours in a day. The question is, how important is English fluency to you? If it's truly important, you'll find 5 minutes. You find time to eat, to sleep, to check social media. You can find 5 minutes for English. Let me share one final thought with you. Learning to think in English is not just about language, it's about transforming your relationship with English. When you think in English, English is no longer this foreign, separate thing you study. It becomes part of you. It becomes a tool you use to navigate your daily life, to solve problems, to express yourself, to understand the world. Many of my students tell me that after they start thinking in English, they actually feel like a slightly different person when they're speaking English. They express ideas they might not express in their native language. They see the world from a slightly different perspective. This is the beauty of multilingualism. Each language gives you a new way of experiencing reality. So embrace this journey, be patient with yourself, be consistent, practice every day. Use the 3 tricks we covered today: simple self-talk, internal questions and answers, and thinking in chunks and phrases. Create an English environment for yourself through immersion, and trust the process. All right, we've covered a lot of ground today, so let me give you a clear, actionable plan that you can start implementing immediately. This is your roadmap for the next 30 days. Let me break down exactly what you should do. Week 1, building the foundation. Your focus this week is just on simple self-talk. Pick one routine activity that you do every single day. For most people, this is the morning routine. From the moment you wake up until you leave your home, narrate everything in simple present continuous tense. Set a reminder on your phone for the same time each day. When the reminder goes off, start your self-talk. Do this for just 5 minutes. That's it. Don't try to do all 3 tricks at once. Don't try to practice all day long, just 5 minutes of self-talk on one routine activity. By the end of week 1, these simple phrases should start flowing more naturally. You'll notice you don't have to think as hard to produce them. Week 2, expanding self-talk. Now you're going to keep doing your morning self-talk, but add one more routine. Maybe it's your evening routine before bed, or your lunch routine, or your workout routine. Choose a second activity that you do every day and start narrating that too in English. Also, this week, start adding more details to your self-talk. Don't just say, "I'm making coffee." Say, "I'm making my morning coffee. I'm using my favorite mug. The coffee smells good." Add descriptions, add preferences, add feelings. Week 3, adding questions and answers. You're going to continue with your self-talk, but now we add trick number 2. Throughout the day, whenever you find yourself making a decision or looking for something, ask yourself the question in English and answer it in English. Start with the simple, high-frequency questions. What should I do now? Where are my keys? What do I want to eat? Don't worry about complex questions yet, just these simple, practical ones. Set a reminder to check in with yourself 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. When the reminder goes off, ask yourself, what am I doing, and what should I do next, in English, and answer in English. Week 4, collecting and using phrases. This is where trick number 3 comes in. While you continue with self-talk and internal questions, you're now going to start actively collecting phrases and chunks. Create a document on your phone or computer, or get a small notebook. Title it My English Phrases. Every day when you're consuming English content, podcasts, videos, articles, notice natural phrases that native speakers use. Write down at least 3 new phrases every day. But don't just collect them, use them. The same day you learn a new phrase, try to use it in your self-talk or internal dialogue at least once. This immediate usage will help the phrase stick in your memory. By the end of week 4, you should have about 80 to 100 phrases in your collection, and you should be using the most common ones naturally in your thinking. Throughout all 4 weeks, remember these daily habits. 5 to 10 minutes of self-talk. Internal questions and answers throughout the day. Consume at least 15 minutes of English content, podcasts, videos, articles. Optional but recommended, 5 minutes of English journaling before bed. Now here's your 30-day challenge, and I really want you to commit to this. For the next 30 days, I challenge you to practice at least one of these 3 tricks every single day without missing a single day. Not 29 days, not most days, all 30 days. Mark it on your calendar, track your progress. And here's the most important part, at the end of 30 days, notice the difference. Pay attention to how much easier it is to think in English. Notice how much faster words come to you when you speak. Notice how much less you're translating in your head. I guarantee you, if you do this consistently for 30 days, you will see significant improvement. And once you see that improvement, you'll want to continue. That's when this becomes not just a practice but a permanent part of your life. We've reached the end of today's episode, and I hope you're feeling inspired and motivated to start this journey of thinking in English. Let me quickly recap the 3 tricks we covered. Trick number 1, simple self-talk. Narrate your daily activities in basic, simple English to create a direct connection between actions and English words. Start with present continuous tense, start with routine activities and practice every day. Trick number 2, internal questions and answers. Transform your internal dialogue by asking yourself questions in English throughout the day and answering them in English. Make English your language of decision-making and problem-solving. Trick number 3, think in phrases and chunks, not individual words. Learn complete phrases and expressions, the building blocks that native speakers use. Collect phrases from native content and actively use them in your own thinking and speaking. And we talked about the authentic method. Surround yourself with English, create an immersion environment even if you're not in an English-speaking country, and practice consistently every single day. Consistency is the key that unlocks fluency. I know this might seem like a lot. I know changing the language you think in sounds like a huge, overwhelming task. But I promise you it's not as difficult as it seems. You don't have to do everything perfectly. You just have to start, and you have to be consistent. Remember, language learning is not a sprint. It's a marathon. You're not trying to become fluent overnight. You're building skills gradually, day by day, week by week. And every day that you practice, you're making progress even if you can't see it immediately. Think about where you'll be 3 months from now if you start today. Think about where you'll be 6 months from now, a year from now. The time is going to pass anyway. The question is, will you use that time to improve your English, or will you still be stuck in the same place, still translating in your head, still struggling to find words quickly? The choice is yours, and the choice is available to you right now, today, in this moment. So here's what I want you to do. As soon as this episode ends right now, start with the first trick. Start with simple self-talk. Look around you, describe what you see in English. I'm sitting in my room, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm learning about thinking in English. Just start, don't wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. Thousands of English learners around the world are working on the same skills, facing the same challenges, celebrating the same victories. We're all in this together. I believe in you. I believe you can do this. I've seen this method work for so many students, and I know it can work for you too. You just have to trust the process, be patient with yourself, and practice consistently. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I really appreciate you listening all the way to the end. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with other English learners who might benefit from these techniques. And one more thing, I'd love to hear about your progress. After you've been practicing for a few weeks, let me know how it's going. Share your experiences, share your challenges, share your victories. Your story might inspire someone else who's just starting out. All right, that's all for today. Remember your 3 tricks: self-talk, internal questions and answers, and thinking in phrases. Practice them every day. Create your English immersion environment, and trust that every day of practice is moving you closer to fluency. Keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep thinking in English. Until next time, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.